We have IFBC presenter Ian Cameron with us today. Ian, how you doing today?
Doing good, Drew. How are you?
Good, man. Excited to get a little background on you and some opinion that you have towards sports betting for the viewers and anybody visiting Costa Rica for the IFBC so they know a little bit about you. So you ready to get into this?
I'm ready. Let's rock and roll.
All right, man. Before sports betting took over your life, did you have another job? What was your career maybe before sports betting?
It was looking, Drew, like it was going to veer into the computer sciences world of some kind, either as a software engineer, a web developer, programmer of some kind. That's definitely what I took in college at Mohawk College in Hamilton, was software engineering, and I was gearing toward that as a potential career path for me. And I honestly did not think it would be offset the way it has and veer toward sports betting, which came down a long time down the road. But I'll say this right now, it came at the right time, because as much as I thought I had skills in web programming, software engineering, that kind of stuff, it was a tedious job. There was a lot of hard hours, a lot of work that had to be put in, and a lot of situations where you're stuck at a desk, you're stuck at an office every single day in an office type of setup, doing something that's a lot of hard work, but at the same time, it's not something that I can say I honestly had fun with as time went on, and I enjoyed, and I had that excitement and that adrenaline rush every single day waking up to do that kind of work. So really, it was at that time when I met Teddy Covers in Las Vegas. I was just starting as a sports bettor in 2007, and really my beginnings in sports betting and taking it more seriously in 2007 started because of an affiliation I had with Hardcore Sports Radio as a listener of that Sirius XM satellite radio station, Hardcore Sports Radio. It had a ton of talent on that station that are still around doing things today. Gabriel Morency, who's going to be down at the International Football Betting Conference, was part of that Hardcore Sports Radio group. And they really emphasized sports from a betting perspective. They would talk about the betting lines. They would talk about sides. They'd talk about totals and have shows revolved around betting. And listening to Hardcore Sports Radio in 2007, Drew, it really started to ramp up my interest in sports betting as I was just finishing college and trying to get into the software engineering world. And then really the building blocks toward me making this a career really started at that point.
Okay. And what is your specialty in sports betting? Do you have a sport that tastes that much better than all the rest?
I'd like to think that I can be very wide-ranging in terms of being able to profit in a bunch of different sports, and I've been able to do that over the course of 5 years in particular as a handicapper since I became an official handicapper. My first 5 years as a bettor, 2007 to 2012, I was not selling picks. I was not a handicapper on any website. It was just me making personal betting, personal wagers and just betting on my own. It was in 2012 I joined sportsmemo.com as a handicapper for the very first time. You know, it was like a fish out of water. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've never done that at a handicapping level before. You know, trying to put yourself in a position to be winning in multiple sports and try to do that year in and year out. That was a challenge I was looking forward to. Over those 5 years, you know, I've been able to have multiple documented winning seasons in a variety of sports: NFL, college football, NBA, college basketball, NHL hockey, and CFL. But it's the latter two, NHL hockey and CFL football, that I think I get the most interest in people for, more clients for those sports, just because they're a little bit more under the radar, not as heavily followed, not as heavily bet on. And I'm able to, being in Canada, really have a good gauge and a good ear toward what is going on in the NHL and in the Canadian Football League, the CFL, on a daily basis, putting me in a better position to beat the odds makers in those sports.
Okay, and if you had to have like 3 pillars of sports betting or things you never try to do in sports betting, could you think of any of those off the top of your head? Like maybe you don't kind of bet too big of favorites or anything like that?
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, I rarely ever go beyond minus 150 or minus 160 in terms of laying a price with a favorite. I would look, in those situations, whether it's hockey or whether it's baseball, I'd look toward a puck line in hockey, minus 1.5 goals, or I'd look toward a run line, minus 1.5 runs in baseball, as a more value-laden option rather than laying a big price. So laying huge, monstrous prices, not something I typically do. I guess that would be one of the 3. Teasers in basketball, teasers in college football in particular. Those are the sports where I really avoid betting teasers hardly at all. NFL teasers, 2 or 3 team teasers that fit the criteria of being able to get a plus or a -7.5 favorite down to, say, a -1.5 point favorite with a 6-point teaser. I'll do that. I'll make that kind of teaser bet. Whereas an underdog of +2.5, I'll go up to +8.5 on a 6-point teaser. Those type of positive expectation wagers with teasers are really the only ones I make. But college, I find there's way too much of a discrepancy in terms of the difference between what the line is and what the result will be to really take too many, if any, college football teasers. Same thing goes with NBA and college basketball. And really the number 3 thing in terms of what I really won't do often as a sports handicapper is these 10, 11 team parlays, Drew, that a lot of people like stringing together with the multiple massive favorites, -400, -500. It is insane how many times early in my career, or not even before it was before I was a handicapper, that this happened to me. I would bet these 7, 8 team parlays, -400 or higher favorites across the board, thinking these are all teams that have got a 99% chance of winning these games. How am I going to lose this parlay and look for this big payout? Well, there'd always be one fly in the ointment or 2 flies in the ointment to basically put stick a cork in that parlay and put it in the losing column. And that's really one of the things I've gotten away from since becoming a professional bettor in 2012, is really veering away from those shot in the dark, hope you hit the lottery, hope you hit the jackpot 7, 8 team parlays, which, oftentimes I ended up banging my head against the wall and crushing myself financially just betting too many of those damn things.
Yeah, man. And as we get closer to, or at least perceived to be closer to, sports betting becoming legal in the United States of America, is there anything that growing up in Canada, born in Canada, growing up in Canada, going to college in Canada, currently living in Canada, where sports betting is legal, correct?
Online you can do it, but in terms of in casinos, it's still not here, obviously. Proline has become the dominant, I guess, way to bet in terms of sports in Canada, but it's really an Ontario a lottery gaming incorporation licensed product, and you can only parlay bet. You can't do single wagers, single event wagers with Proline. Again, and that's why I felt Proline is not the way to bet in Canada if you want to do this seriously, if you want to do this as an investment, if you want to do this to make serious money. You don't bet via Proline in Canada. You've got to turn to online sportsbook betting, which is something you are able to do in this country. And the great thing about being in Canada, Drew, is I've got access to Pinnacle. I know there's been a huge bugaboo and people upset, disappointed for years in the United States. A lot of the colleagues I've talked to that you can't use Pinnacle Sportsbook in the United States. It's one of my favorites. It's probably the sportsbook I use more than any is Pinnacle, and being a Canadian resident, I'm able to use it. But there's so many good options out there, and that's what's a great thing, Drew, about our company, Sportsbook Review. They know they can point every bettor down the right path in terms of choosing a sports book that will pay, that's reputable, that's viable, that gives good bonuses, that's not going to screw you over. There's a ton of great sports books on the sportsbookreview.com website. I mean, Pinnacle, 5 Dimes, The Greek. You can go on down the list. Bet Online, which has been sponsoring Sportsbook Review content lately. Great sportsbook options that you can find at that website. And if you're a first-time bettor and you're looking for a good sportsbook to place your money in, you got to look at sportsbookreview.com. That rating guide could really be a lifesaver.
Absolutely, man. Is there any advice you would give to the people making it legal in the United States of America as far as mistakes maybe Canada's made with online gambling?
Well, in the United States, obviously, we're hoping for good things in the future. We know that the New Jersey case now is going to be heard. That's definitely a step in the right direction, but we've still got a lot of hurdles to clear, a lot of obstacles to clear right now in terms of making this legalized. And I really do believe we are going to get closer and closer to that happening. I think we're still a ways away. Drew, I don't think it's fair to say that this is going to be happening anytime soon within even the next 5 to 10 years, but I do think we are closing in on getting this done. Like, let's be honest. I mean, we've got situations where, fantasy football is huge. Fantasy sports has been huge. DFS has been huge. You look at what DraftKings has done. Is that really any different in terms of gambling from placing a wager on a sporting event from a side or a total perspective? No. You're still putting money down. You're still trying to, risk money on an outcome that you think is going to be advantageous to you financially. I don't see any difference. So it's time to get out of the dinosaur era. It's time to, get into the 2017 way of thinking right now. And that sports betting could bring dollars into the economy. You open it up, it has a chance to blow up if it goes mainstream, as far as I'm concerned. You look at the NFL, why are they as popular as they are? Fantasy sports, but specifically betting is is the main reason why. Who's kidding who? I mean, football betting is huge, yet people living in that stone age still, Drew, refuse to see that, refuse to do anything about it. I think it's time things get done. And like I say, I think there's still a lot of obstacles to go. We've still got to keep those fingers crossed. May not happen anytime in the very near future, but I am still optimistic we will get legalized sports betting at some point down the road.
And Ian, when are you getting down here to Costa Rica? August 3rd?
I am getting down here on the Thursday. Yes, Thursday, August 3rd, staying till Monday, August 7th. So making a nice little, weekend adventure out of it down there in San Jose, Costa Rica. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, there's going to be a lot of great people there. Teddy Covers, Mark Lawrence, all of our roundtable people. You, Drew, Mark Lathrop's going to be there, Donnie and Jeff. Big man on campus, Gabe Morency. I am telling you, if any of you haven't heard of Gabriel Morency, who's been a friend of mine for years and years now, I'm on his shows regularly. You can find him on Twitter at Sports Rage. He is a crazy bastard. He is entertaining. He will bet on anything and everything. He'll bet on Filipino basketball, for crying out loud, when there's nothing else going on. So he's going to be an entertaining speaker down there. Really, everybody on this list. Mark Lawrence, what can you say? The guy's been in the business for 40 years. That's outstanding. That's incredible experience that he has, that he will provide to everyone down at the International Football Betting Conference. It's just a great speaker list and a great guest list. So if you're on the fence about coming down to Costa Rica for this IFBC 2017, the inaugural edition, don't be on the fence. Make it happen. Check out www.ifbc.live. Get all the information and all the insight into how you can punch your ticket to be down there with us. It's going to be a great weekend.
All right, he's Ian Cameron. You can find his work at sportsmemo.com and on Twitter at Babano. And Ian, just the last question for you. For the visitors coming down to Costa Rica for IFBC, if they're hanging out with you by the bar after, what's your drink of choice?
It goes a lot of different things. I will go into the tropical drinks. I'll go into the mixed drinks. I'll do a shot of whiskey every now and then. I'm a big beer guy. You know that, Drew. I'll drink lots of beer. A Long Island iced tea. Really like my Long Island iced tea, especially in the summer. That's always a good drink to have. Little vodka crayons, not bad as well. Ryan Coke, really enjoy that as well. Like I say, I'm a beer drinker. Ryan Coke, Long Island iced tea. Just some of my favorites. Even, raspberry vodka, cranberry vodka. I go all over the place, Drew, in terms of my drinking, especially in the summertime when the weather's hot and you feel like getting involved in the drinking game a little bit more than, say, you would in the middle of January. So we'll be trying a lot of different things for sure. It's not going to be a dry weekend for Ian Cameron in Costa Rica. I guarantee you that.
All right, man. I'm excited to have a couple drinks with you. And thanks for taking the time, Ian. Look forward to seeing you when you're down here for IFBC.
I look forward to it too, Drew. Thanks a lot. And everyone, join us in Costa Rica next month. You won't regret it.
All right, Ian. Thanks, man.